Alright, we're straight into another game. Curious to see what our lineup looks like. No on
Oh, no
Nangong.
time, no time even to put our pretty faces on screen.
No, that'll be after this round, I think. Alright, so Momo now Nangong Sheng, Zhen on Kakao. We are CJ on Wuzi, Hachime. This is almost
Only
no
two people
repeats,
have
yeah.
repeated characters: the blacksmith and the gourd lord. Of both, they're just running it back, which there's no penalty
No
to them for
penalty to
doing
them.
that.
Yeah, alright, well this is gonna be a very different texture for this game, man. Love to see the alt tiger art being represented.
Gives something for Snowball to aspire to. Not Snowball the player, Snowball the adorable kitten.
Alright, so pretty typical openers from both characters. Always good to get that first win on Wu Xingzhe.
So, Champiggy, I see that you're saying Chinri's in this one. And I think, Chinri's a little bit of an interesting choice to me for this because Chinri is sort of the prototypical get top four character. She sure does get an awful lot of second through fourth place finishes and virtually no wins at all, which is not really what the tournament scoring system incentivizes. That's maybe the sort of character I would pick if I had won round one and I just wanted to limp my way into a top finish with seconds and thirds. But Snowball, the player, did not actually get one of those top three finishes in the last round. But maybe they have more faith in Shinri to take down a lobby than I do.
Shinra can take down your lobbies every now and then. The character does. We've seen some pretty inventive Chinre boards, I feel like, this season. The Rise of Aggro Chinre. Seeing a lot of My Fate, My Choice pickups here. I'm a little surprised to see Chinre with My Fate, My Choice. I feel like that's 4 exchanges is somewhat low value.
I am not at all, because remember the sheer fraction of fate branches that manipulate what immortal fates you're offered? Those all do nothing for Chinri.
That's true. That's
Uh,
true.
it's so even though my fate, my choice is pretty low impact for her, it's something like that there's more fates than just the ones that manipulate or level up her options too.
It
That do nothing
is
for her.
a
It's
good
probably like 2 out of 3 just do nothing for Chinri.
It is a good point. I did kind of forget that she was picking from a bunch of 5-element fate branches. So that
Yeah,
does...
like what's she gonna do? Be able to lock a combined worlds? Be able to pick additional side jobs over her character fates? She really doesn't have very many hits.
That's true.
She kind of is on the one that lets her lock the good endgame water cards is probably her preference.
Yeah.
Or some of the ones that can put additional copies of water cards into the pool. That's like 3 hits really that outperform my fate, my choice, which is sort of sad for her.
That's fair. Well, I was seeing a lot of it in this lobby. The Tension is picked up Mastery of Vitality, which is interesting. They are Formation Master. So I imagine this was mostly picked up because it gives you a bunch of copies of Great Spirit. There, maybe it's going to be leaning more into the Stillness Chittadama when you have more of them in your deck. This certainly looks like your sort of usual Formation Master early game of just a couple of formations and then a bunch of random junk that costs 1 chi.
Extra Great Spirits is fantastic for the usual HHH Formation Master late game, but I think the Stillness Chittadharma is still often a card they lean on heavily to get to that late game.
That makes sense.
So I wouldn't poo-poo that part.
That makes a lot of sense. It does seem like a bunch of generally useful stuff from that perspective.
Not so much the revitalized.
You never know. It is a card that costs 1 chi and does 10 damage. You know, that's something.
That sure is a tier 1 card.
We can upgrade our Falling Thunder with one. Sending a few rolls here on tier 3. Just trying to flush out the board a little bit. I guess that's what you end up settling with. Momo has very skillfully drawn the Wood Spirit Secret Seal.
I think an even bigger deal. They drew the wood one into the water one.
Ah, yes.
I usually think the wood one is pretty clearly the strongest in the late game. The metal one's good too. But if there were one you could choose to draw on the breakthrough to phase 2 every single game, I think I would pick the one.
I think I would pick that if you then also told me I was getting a Wood Seal on 3. But I've certainly never drawn Wood Spirit Seal on tier 2. I guess full stop. But if I had, I would never be sad about it.
That's fair, yeah. I mean, you really would like that wood one. But when you have, particularly when you have limited deck slots, the wood one can be mildly awkward if you have to play a card to get the chi and play a card for the attack buff. You don't get many slots for attack.
Well, we've seen a lot of
boards... By this phase of the game, the wood one's just bad stuff.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of the Nangongsheng boards rolling very hard on tier 1, I think, to hit the upgraded Bud in particular, which really pays you off for drawing that Wood Seal a little bit earlier. So even if your board's a little bit compressed at only 5 cards, having a level 3 or 2 level 2 Buds usually, I think, makes the Wood Spirit Secret Seal go pretty far. Obviously, at this point, you're laughing all the way to the bank.
Still would like to draw a Forest Guard or 2, just so that this board stays as dominant as it is all the way through tier 4.
I agree. I would probably not be looking to roll very much for it, though.
That's eminently fair. You know, you have 104 Destiny still winning fights. Probably don't want to burn rolls, but I want to draw the thing, if I could.
Fair. Well, Chinray here is well set up for when she has Spring Rain. We have a Cirque, we have a Metal card, so that's about as much as you can hope for from her, as well as a fair selection of other reasonable tier 1, tier 2 cards here. The Rush, Scarlet Flame.
Surreal, I think I dream greedier and bigger than you, because I could also choose to hope for a Turbulent.
A Turbulent would go a long way, that is true. I like the optimism of Earth Spirit Elixir into normal attacks. I'm like, well, maybe if I just don't die, I'll be okay. Our Blacksmith friend here is struggling. It looks like we're going unrestrained again. This time off My Fate, My Choice. We've locked a Meru formation. We're just committed.
Interesting. When he was offered the Unrestrained Fate branch, certainly not surprising to see him going this direction, but it's interesting to see that it's actually the default plan A for him.
We did it, Sonia. We have the Revitalized on the board. 10 damage.
Alright.
We've done it.
Their quest to make me look like a fool as a commentator.
Oh no, I could never do that. I don't think the Revitalize is likely to be enough against Momo, but it's making the effort. It's true, Quadal. It is 11 damage second cycle thanks to the power of this secure formation plus Hunter becomes Prayer. We actually get all the way to +2 off these 2 cards, so very exciting. In 6 more turns when we play Revitalize number 2. Kekko Poisonous defeating Tiger. And Jinri continuing to rack up wins.
I like seeing the fortune teller sword intent.
Yeah.
Is this Xian playing the cat girl?
Yes, yes. So this has been a real I guess you could call it a success story of this patch cycle. The rise of Fortune Teller Cat Girl. Detect Chi letting you play the Form Intention Sword, Contemplate Spirit Rhythm line, giving you access to very, very, very early high damage boards to turn 4 kills from as soon as you get your tier 4. Of course, you do need to get through the early game there. What was that, sorry?
There's some other gains as well, right? Just the fact that you don't need all your board slots for a sword intent combo lets you play cards just for the opening effect. You can play a sword intent combo, but start with a couple hexproof.
Yeah, for sure.
If an interesting pit bunny tech that I have seen is if you keep 2 separate examine bodies, then the first one will be spent on the sword intention, form intention sword in order to gain smash defense there. But that also means that the first hit of your actual cash out for sword intent will have smash defense, which can really make a lot of difference in people's ability to block through the combo.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Doubling up the smash defense goes a long way. It's good coverage since blocking the Flying Fang Sword is something that gets opened up once you are no longer playing your cheaper fusions.
It's also using a multiplicity of examined bodies on your Sword Intent board is maybe the first counter I've seen from Sword Intent to a Frozen Snow Lotus, which usually is the most damning card from that strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we see the board. So Xian did break through to 3 relatively early. I think the way I have played this board has been to sort of stay on 2 until you're ready to get straight to 4. So that way you can try to max your Form Intention Sword and Contemplate Spirit Rhythm. So their damage is a little bit lower as a result of that. I wonder if they need to play the Flying Fang Sword. I guess they're playing the sword defense instead, so it's much of a muchness.
Yeah, a bit lower, but it's nothing that 2 SI surges can.
That's true. The part where you don't have them yet, though, that is a little bit scary.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think the Cat Soul Bloods from 64 Destiny, how do you feel about that?
Well, now who's the optimistic one now?
I think I like it just from the standpoint that I know as Xian I won the first lobby, right? So if Cat Soul Bless can turn like a 5th into a 3rd or whatever, that may well just be good enough for me to get my high finish.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting to see Cat
no, that normal would have finished him.
I think maybe the Flying Fang Sword was needed a little bit there. The 2 high power 5 element boards facing off, Momo taking the win. And then the World Smash board doing what it does on tier 4.
104 Destiny at round 10 feels fantastic.
Yeah, Momo picked up this Recuperate and then has not lost a single fight. Also, Momo is very good at the game. Momo knows what they're doing.
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 4 of how good they are at the game, I would give them a 2. I'm gonna call the units copies. 2 copies seems to be how good he is at the game. Very skillful Momo.
Well, it's awkward when you draw 2 because now the one that you draw on tier 5 doesn't have like an easy upgrade route. It's very tricky.
You can greed to try and hit the upgrade elixir on one of your 3 copies.
Oh, you certainly dream of it, right? And I mean, even if you find a level 2 UWF, it still works out fine because it's basically still a Willow Leaf in that spot, and like a level 2 Willow Leaf, which is obviously an absurd card. So
Yeah, this really doesn't have the same texture to it as the last game, though, right? What he's doing is really not going to win a lobby. And so he still does need to hit, unlike the spiritual divination board
yes,
from before.
yes, that's true. Also, Momo's rebirth here giving Xian a lot of trouble. Need to do the early cat chaos, but Momo called it with a dive, so then hard to finish them off. Good play by Momo.
Yeah, I wonder how our Xian plans to get around that, because that's just going to be a problem every time they face.
Yeah,
You can't out mind game the child rebirth.
I feel like you often end up doing something a little bit awkward with like a Dharma finish or something like that. You'd go off a turn earlier. This is looking very bad for our fake snowball friend here. They are they've got the quicksands and they have a steep, but they don't have an Earth Spirit formation and they don't have much else.
I think it's okay. I think they have double hits on that second continuous card. Finishing touch actually may even be the better option for a second continuous on these boards. You sort of imagine what is the dream board to hit. For your back 7 cards, you're going to play Kunwu, Metal Ring. You're going to use 2 shuttles as chases and a flying brush as your third chase. You're going to need a landslide, a block building card for the landslide to cut into, and a combined world. Right? How many Earth cards was that really? It was only 3.
I think while that's true, it's not necessarily going to be enough when you're facing down this board from Momo. Oh, Momo. You need to heal, Momo.
Oh, I'm not saying that. Sure. I think he does have that extra hit touch for his continuous card, but lacking the Earth formation is not the most damage.
Oh, no, absolutely. I was thinking more that Momo might eliminate them from the lobby this round. Which it looked like that's what's happened, unfortunately.
It has come to pass, yes.
Ooh, that's Avatar popped there.
Megas, I don't believe he was an Elixirist Tiger. We saw a Falling Paper Clouds on his board, so he would have to be Painter.
Momo, though, is Painter. So Painter and Gongsheng. Another pick we've seen pretty commonly this season. Oh, the Store Chi pick is interesting. What did we pick that over? A pretty bad series of options. We also picked up a Metal Seal by the looks of it. Pair of interesting choices.
That is an interesting pick. Maybe the logic is that if he hits UWF, he's in good enough shape that he doesn't have to worry too much about what seal he picked. And if he doesn't hit UWF, then giving yourself a metal secret seal means that if you draw a Heartfire, you can survive a little bit better, a little bit longer.
Yeah, I would guess that the Metal Seal is a hedge towards Heartfire specifically, especially when you've got like Blazing Prairie here. Not that there's any DX in the lobby to worry about, but the Metal Spirit Seal Heartfire interaction is still very good.
It's a second hit to stopgap you to your UWF is my read on that card. Store Chi is allowing him to do things he couldn't otherwise here.
I wonder if it's going to be enough. That actually worked out very well, didn't it? Dodge the Iron Bone, which points for style.
Yeah, you'd have to be slot 1ing the Iron Bone against that composition.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
which you could actually do if you just scoot that Iron Bone to the slot 2 with the deck. Then it gets out its damage at the same speed, unless you're relying on second World Smash specifically to take the kill. which actually would be the case.
I think we might not be, I think this might be the end of our Xian here. Unless these 5 Thunders start finding ways to do more than 5 hits, as opposed to the 1 that we're currently running.
Yeah, he's in dire enough shape that you might actually hope to get 0 Thunders just for the achievement.
Alright. Down goes Xian. We had all these mirrors in our hand. Well, maybe we drew them, and they can't see them. Alright. We do not... Xian does not have a Surge. Does not have a Surge.
He does have a Flying Shade Sword and a Dharma, which is nice for killing children with a Rebirth passive, right? That you could theoretically finish them with the Sword Intent Burst and then use the Dharma to get the last 15 points.
Yeah, that's definitely a very, very real line. Probably the cleanest way to do it.
Unless he upgrades it, 4 hits is really hard to get a Sword Intent kill without an SI search. So he's definitely missing pieces.
Absolutely. And this is a pretty scary round. My Destiny calculations aren't very good. I don't know if Xian can get eliminated here, because this World Smash Ball may kill them before they do.
There's a very interesting trick you can do. I think all Catgirl mains should memorize the Destiny damage formula, just so they know what is the maximum Destiny damage you can take on any given round. And the reason this is so important for Catgirl players specifically is that if you take Cat Soul Bless like Xian has, you can theoretically choose to optimize it by pulling all your cards and taking maximum Destiny damage. And if you know ahead of time whether that's an odd or an even number, you know when you can force a Cat Soul Bless that way if you don't think you can win otherwise.
I have never thought of that. That is so heads up. Yeah, that could save you a lot of Destiny. Every other round, you know it's going to be an even max amount of damage. You can, if you don't think you can win, you can just take everything off your board, take max and Cat Soul Bless it. That's pretty.
Exactly.
That is very clever.
Thank you. But what I am not a Catgirl main, and so I don't know the formula, and so I don't know whether that was an option that round. Regardless of whether Xian was thinking in that direction or not, he did not get a Cat Soul Bless.
No.
So Cat Soul Bless is just not safe again.
And unfortunately now the knowledge is no longer useful. Alright, what are we dealing with from this Water? I haven't checked in on CJ in a while, so pretty classic Water. Lack of flies, but a lot of upgrades. Prop Omen, Polaris, Max Hit, Max Starry Moon in the wings. So this is looking a little bit like the sort of board that doesn't necessarily need its flies. You can kind of compensate for it by just having enough burst that they die to the 3 hits.
I think the second Starry Moon is probably only being held for the 2 Ironbone players in the lobby.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely...
Why would be a fantastic hit as the Wutsei player there? I would also really like a second Tiger. Tiger is a messed up card in how it upgrades.
Absolutely. I think that would definitely be a big win in these matchups. Check in on Jit and see if they can pull this out against Momo to try to lock up their first game win. I have not seen these arts ever, I don't think.
It's cute. I like it.
Heartfire and its one nemesis, a little bit of defense.
Yeah, Xian is doing a fantastic job of playing around exactly Momo's board, and I fear that it still might not be enough.
Yeah, that was a really, really good sequence for them. Mostly comes down to this this turn, right? Ooh, not enough she cannot play card is... they were so close.
Yep.
If that
Still
Quen Spirit Sword had gone off, they would have been able to stay in the game.
It really is rough to have called your opponent's board so precisely, played around everything, and just not quite had the hits to clinch it.
Yeah. Looks like this is a win for Chinray. The turn 1,000 Evils incantation, kind of wrecking the World Smash.
That is how you do it.
And Unrestrained is out as well. I don't need me falling to CJ. So, we have a very different top 4. Last time we had Momo, Xian, and I believe it was Xian was the other person top 3. Here we still have Momo. But everybody else is a different face, so Momo looking to pick up a lot of points here.
I imagine our blacksmith player, as he was one of the 2 people that repeated the same strategy, just trying to get that top 3 with it, check that box before switching characters, and it's working out for the Board Lord player. Didn't work out for the blacksmith player. I wonder if they're going to stick to their guns in the third.
Yeah. Well, here we see go down between 2... Oh, yeah, between 2 tech cards that terrorize the early stages of this game, Tiger and Ironbone.
Tisk CJ, I told you that your tech card for that matchup was the Max Starry Moon against the Ironbone. They didn't bring it in. They may have had to eat it in a previous round to go first. Pay attention every round.
This Flamesoul Rebirth has looked... Well, I was going to say it's been looking really good, but I think Momo actually took exactly lethal damage there. So it didn't actually look that good there.
It was, yeah, not relevant to that combat because his increased max HP, if he hadn't taken it, would have allowed him to survive regardless.
Yeah, but I guess it did look good. It just it wasn't actually. It's actually good.
Hey, Momo found the UWF.
Momo has their UWF, so sucks to rest. They've also drawn a million copies of Blazing Prairie, and a lot of copies of Willow Leaf too.
Oh,
yeah, so this is the
420 Blazer.
This is the Metal Spirit Secret Seal Heartfire that we were talking about. Looks like they're trying to set up some defense into this, which I guess makes sense. I'm not sure who's the beatdown board in this matchup. I'm guessing once you hit enough upgrades, it becomes the World Smash board that's trying to just blitz through, whereas the
I think with utterly maxed upgrade counts, I do think the World Smash board has a better shot of killing on tier 3. But that only happens with a large number of upgrades, because again, this is a board that has that multiplicative scaling effect and upgrade count, where the Willow Leaf upgrades do multiply by the Thorn upgrades.
Yeah.
Instead of merely adding. I think on most realistic counts of upgrades, I do think the Child board is the beatdown. But that's why you have like a Combined Worlds in your deck.
Yeah, and we saw Kai-Chen debating between the Ironbone or the Thorn as well. They swapped them in and out multiple times. Now, that was a very, very round kill.
It was. I don't think there's any way that these World Smash boards can kill without getting back to the World Smash if you're against a Flame Soul Rebirth Child. Oh, actually, I guess there is one way that you can make that occur, but it is no longer an option to our Board Lord player, and that's taking advantage of Cycle of 5 Elements on phase 3. It allows you to play a board that does damage every turn instead of skipping the 4th.
This Chinray has been quietly taking names here. Thousand Evils Incantation, remembering its former glory before Soul Cleaving was introduced to the game. Just kind of running a roughshod over people at the moment. Defeating...
Yeah, there's no DX players to Soul Cleave it in this lobby.
It is... It is also aggro Chinray. Chat is correct. Chat is reminding me that it's aggro Chinri. But then it's always aggro Chinri. This is my motto. Looks like it's always aggro Chinri, we say, as we take up all these horrendous aggro cards and put our water cards.
How aggro can you really say that it is when you're circling combined?
Yeah, I mean...
Is that really that aggressive?
I feel like the key card is the Blazing Prairie. If you've got a Blazing Prairie on your board, you're aggro. If you...
Okay.
You know, whatever comes after that is immaterial. Like, we don't call this, like, metal Chinri, right?
Oh, I mean, we call it the usual defensive Chinri because it is weakening the opponent and playing Iron Bone and gaining HP.
Well, weakening World Smash usually goes quite far. So we'll see if it's enough here.
Yeah. If you weaken the World Smash, then the Force of Water procs that follow it are basically entirely negated by Iron Bone. Also, very good against the Thorn.
Now, Chinri does only have the level 1 UWF, but looks like it just does not matter here.
Yep, it lasts just long enough with 4 different elements on board and only 2 charges expended per cycle.
Yeah, Megas, Iron Bone reduces Force of Water damage. Force of Water
is correct, Megas.
Damage, not whatever Fulus are.
Yeah, an effect like Weaken only works against attack. But Iron Bone actually says explicitly on the card, if you read it carefully, attacks or damage, and Force of Water is the latter.
I'd say reading the card explains the card, but that is very often not true in this game.
Yeah, it's a terrible mantra to abide for a game that started out Google Translated. It's no longer Google Translated, but its humble beginnings were certainly there.
Yeah, these are some cool words. Momo and this Chinri player are both really flexing the power of Ultimate World Formation.
Our top 3 are all 5 elements characters.
Yeah, that's why, you know, that's why it's the best sect.
Asterisk.
All the good 5 element characters in this lobby. Shout out to Senpai. Is the number one Ling Yuan player in the world. Cleans up with Nan Gongshan.
Certainly one of the number 1 5 elements players in the world, and also one of the number 1 5 elements haters in the world. Yeah, we had a top 3 from 5e last time as well from our Tiger player.
Yes, yes. Unfortunate reversal of fortune for them. The mid-game board really did not come together. So I think...
no tech cards played by Chinri here. This is just the classic Chinri board.
Yeah. It's interesting, you know, I was always under the belief that this board usually beats this board. But at some point that just seems to not be true anymore. Maybe it's just an upgrade quality thing.
It's also very sensitive to starting life totals, right? Those kills tend to be quite narrow. So you get 3 rounds later, 6 more HP, makes all the difference. And it could also just be the pay-to-win bling.
I think
that Divine Walkthrough looks amazing.
I think part of it as well, Momo being painter here, their cycle being longer than the Chinri, makes things a little bit tougher as well. Chinri just gets to replay these Great Waves and Combine Rivers as it was, while Momo has to spend an extra turn playing like a Combine Worlds or something that doesn't really do anything. Also, the fact that Momo is on Heartfire naturally sort of plays badly into Ironbone. Ironbone effectively does double duty against Heartfire.
Well, it's the horror story, right? It's a small amount of block chasing into an Ironbone.
Sure. This is what Heartfire sees in its nightmares. Well, this is what it used to see in its nightmares. Now I guess it sees all of Duan, but you know, Heartfire's had a hard run.
There's also Chinri does have a very high upgrade count. It's useful to know. Look at that's a Max Divine Walk Fulu, and then also the Cirque and the Great Waves are both level 2.
Yeah.
So she is stacking Force of Water very rapidly.
Absolutely.
It makes a big difference.
Swooshinger has not found a lot of particularly relevant upgrades lately. I'm looking mostly at this Willow Leaf still being level 1. Just kind of
that Thorn still being level 2.
Yeah, really cuts down on the offensive reach of the board.
Mm-hmm.
Maxed out really Combine World though.
Yeah, but that's not really gonna save him against Chin.
Good enough to beat Momo though, so all 3 players still in the lobby. Momo and Wu Jingzhe are both down to their last life. Chinrei has one more fight in her if she does lose. She is fighting Momo, who she just defeated previously. So Momo's going to need to find something here to improve this board.
Speaking of making Titania look like an inept commentator, I had called out how I didn't think Chinri was a good character for getting actual first place. And now it's looking like that's going to happen.
This is 2 tournaments in a row where a Chinri player has kind of showed up and performed, Cold Fusion for us. Zom in the last event, and now here we're watching Chinri kind of run roughshod over 2 characters I think people would generally say, well, I don't know maybe about Wuxia, but certainly Nan Gongsheng people would say is more apt at winning lobbies.
Definitely. I think there was a Chinri buff on the latest set of patch notes.
Yes.
For people who had not played Chinri a bunch, it was kind of easy for that to fly under the radar. It's not a very big deal. She gets 1 cultivation in the late game as a character who can't realistically compete for speed in many lobbies anyway. But I think that overlooking it is actually a mistake, because it was a very key 1 cultivation. A problem that all Dawn Elixir Chinris have had previously is that on round 12, they would get exactly enough cultivation to play a full board and break through to phase 5. And the reason this is significant is Chinri usually wants to bank a bunch of rolls going into phase 5 because her phase 4 card makes it kind of free to win the fights on that tier. And you couldn't spend all the rolls on round 12 unless you were willing to accept the possibility of not hitting and breaking your board.
That's a really good point. It's definitely a pain I have felt playing Chinri, so it is a relevant buff.
Well, the way around it used to be play Elixir Chinri. A single cultivation elixir fixed the problem. But now any Chinri can do it. You just have a card to roll naturally on round 12. But round 13 was pretty slow access to the goods.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's really good. That's a really clever insight. I hadn't thought about that. Wu Jingzhe is out, so now it's Momo versus Chinri. Momo did win that fight. I'm not sure if it was not the ghost, so Wu Jingzhe lost to Chinri's ghost. So now Momo is coming off a win against Chinri. They're going to be going first now. We're no longer holding cards. Yeah, there we go. So now it's this is for all the marbles.
The cultivations are surprisingly close because this kid took absolutely no cultivation fates.
I know, right?
You do not usually expect Chinri to force the kid to eat his hand to go first.
Alright. The 11 attack up does get the job done through Ironbone. Momo takes first. Momo takes first and second, so absolutely the immediate point leader.